Hello, and welcome to the stream. How is everyone today? Hope you're all doing well. For those of you who may not know, am Pilkey. I am a small robot living on a spaceship, traveling through space, doing programming. So, how is everyone today? I am feeling much better than I was yesterday. Mr. B, thank you. It works. It works. It works. It works. It works. Look, look. Well, actually, it works a bit too well. But thank you for subscribing. 8 months. But yes, the stickers, it works. I have no idea how it fixed it, but it seems to be fixed. So thank you very much. How is everyone doing? Yesterday I was kind of, well, just low energy, very low energy. I've been sort of like that since Friday, where I was like, it got to about 3 p.m. and I was basically feeling a bit tired and thought, oh, I'll just go lie down for 10 minutes and then get back to work. And then I woke up a few hours later. And then Saturday I didn't have much energy, and yesterday it was just, I had the energy to do stuff, but not the energy to be on microphone. So I basically cancelled all my plans and just did fun, relaxing stuff like building models. And also something else. There's another model that I have been building that I have finally got to a point where I can show it off. So what I would like to do is reveal to you all the new, improved Pokebot. Hello, I am the Pokebot. The new, improved version with several new tricks, such as the ability to look around. My mouth doesn't really do much, it's fairly basic at the moment, but it was broken on the old one as well. You'll also see I correctly only have a single alert appearing now. So, yep. But it is not just having eyes that can look around. I have many more expressions. Now, I want you to bear in mind, these expressions are not finalized yet. In particular, the mouth position needs to change a lot, because on one in particular, it just looks ridiculous where the mouth is. So we'll probably fix that towards the end of today's stream. But let me run you through the expressions. So we have our classic ones, such as the plain expression. And then we have the happy expression. We have puzzled, new and improved. And then the other ones, we have worried, we have angry, but then we have a bunch of new expressions, such as head empty, surprised, and the one that looks completely ridiculous with where the mouth is at the moment, crying. Oh, I'm not choosing a phone quite yet. It may be quite cool to get like to use a phone for the head tracking. I'm not really sure yet, but at the moment this is just me trying to learn all the controls because I've changed all the controls around, and the problem is that I just then had to relearn them to do the other one. But oh, Mishari, I know you're kidding, but the thing is, people do that. There are people who actually see, this is the thing, I can't remember what all my expressions are now. I've actually created a post, but yeah, there are people that actually are using their phone to do that sort of facial tracking. So it's entirely not out of the realms of possibility to actually get that working. It's just a question of do I want to? Or do I want to do other stuff? I don't know. But yes, welcome. I have upgraded the Pokebot. I have been fixing things. Oh yeah, with the Pokebot, I now have, well, I have ports on the back, which you can't see particularly well from any direction. But I have ports, some old, some new, and I have a charging port. I have some more bits and pieces on top and behind. So, yes, I'm pretty happy with how this is all gone. Let's see, what else do I have? I haven't hooked any of those up. Oh yeah, I've got the camera works a lot better when it's looking down. So I can look down and look up at you. I don't think that does anything yet. What else do we have? I can spin around again. I think that's it. Oh, well, I mean, the camera looking down. If I go in here, I can now bring the camera down in here as well. So I can now speak to you properly in here. So yeah, I have been doing a lot and now everything is able to be rebuilt. I figured we'll use it. There is a room with a charging dock. Unfortunately, I cannot currently get into the room with the charging dock, so I'm just running on battery powers. But thankfully, I have a very long battery life. I've been going for several months now and not needed to recharge. So hopefully I can last until my charging dock appears, but eventually I will gain access to the rest of the ship again. I just seem to have been locked out for the moment, so we will get that fixed eventually. Anyway, if we head over here and I turn around, we can zoom in. If you keep an eye on me, I do still have a few additional tricks, but it will take a minute or so for them to start kicking in. In the meantime, let's take a look at Coppice, which currently I decided, let's just run all the tests and see what is broken. And it turns out what is broken are the tests. So our first thing today is going to be trying to get these fixed so that we can actually run through the tests and see, do we have any more bugs? So what we need to do is work out exactly what has gone wrong. Remove item context has no some pages. That's because it's items now. Oh, I did get an interesting email. So for all of my hosting, I currently use Bitbucket. That was primarily because when I signed up to it, they were the only ones that were offering free private repositories. GitHub wasn't at that point. So Bitbucket actually does continuous integration, which is something that I want to get set up again, because I had Xcode Server working, but Xcode Server's deprecated. So I want to get some continuous integration working, and I'd heard about various services out there that do continuous integration, and often what they do is they basically charge you for how many hours of time you spend. So if your code takes, let's say, a minute to compile and 4 minutes to run through all its tests, that's 5 minutes of time, and you get so much per month in terms of compute time. And if you are doing that on multiple platforms, then if you do it on 3 platforms at a time, well, that's 15 minutes for every run. So it can rack up. But what a lot of these services do, and what Bitbucket have now started doing, is letting you use your own hardware. So you use their service to actually set up the continuous integration, but rather than using their servers to build and run everything, it will use your hardware. Now, I have my old iMac sitting around doing nothing. And the intention originally was always to set it up with a bunch of VMs and such, so that I can have it running Xcode Server and run up through things on different operating system versions and so on. Well, what I could do now is still set it up with a bunch of VMs running, but rather than using Xcode Server, I could use Bitbucket, which should hopefully allow me to get continuous integration working, which means that stuff like, oh, my unit tests be broken, should appear to me much faster. Of course, what would be nice is if Xcode Cloud supported that. So then I could use all the integration with Xcode, but use my own systems for running all the tests. But sadly, doesn't seem that is supported yet, but maybe in future. Oh, that's... Okay. What are we missing here? That is remove items. Yeah, Kieran. Bitbucket is the service online that I use for source control. Oh, actually, that's a fair point. I need to just hide this while I bring this up. Okay, that is... Hide that. But yeah, in terms of actually doing the source control, I use Tower, which is just a user interface on top of Git source control. So this is what I'm using to keep everything everything managed, and my full work history. At some point, I will have to do like a short video on version control for the Animata Discord, because I get a feeling that there are a lot of people there that really could use version control and know they should be using version control, but aren't. So yes, Bitbucket is the Atlassian one. I did, like I say, I got it because at the time it was the only one that did free private repositories. I also actually kind of prefer it, though I don't really use it that much. It's in terms of like the website or anything. It's mostly just, it's where I push my code to. So Yeah, Tower's very nice. I've been using Tower, I think, possibly since it first came out, since version, like, either version 1 or version 2, I think, is when I started using Tower. Because I initially was not using Git, I was using Bazaar. I was doing that through the command line, but then when I switched over to Git, it was just like, I've got to find a GUI, and Tower has just been the best one because it just feels the most Mac-like, and some of the features there, like the undo that they added, I think in version 7, is pretty cool. Like, not only does it make using Git easier, but it just adds additional stuff on top of it. So you may have used Bitbucket, Kieran, because like I said, Bitbucket is a service. SourceTree, I believe, is an app for actually using it. All of them are basically running on Git, which is basically the standard version control system everyone has settled upon now. It used to be Subversion, but now you have Git. So all Tower is basically a user interface on top of Git. Git is powering all the source control, but this just makes it easy to use. Same with SourceTree. SourceTree, I believe, I don't know if it also supports Subversion, but it's definitely Git, and that powers it. And then you have Bitbucket, GitHub, GitLab, all services like this, which again are all powered by Git. So Git is like the fundamental thing, but you have all this stuff built on top of it. In a way you can think of it, I mean, it's kind of an apt analogy, considering they were made by the same person, but you can have like the Linux kernel, but Linux can take many forms. Linux, you have various distros of Linux that are out there. You have Android, which is Linux. I believe the PlayStation software is Linux. So they're all different interfaces on top of the same basic core. Now, there's not quite as much customization there, but it's mostly you've got the same key data in the back end, and then everything just builds upon it to do new stuff. Right, where are we? Why is that complaint? Valid redeclaration. We want to get rid of that. Items. And then I want to rename this, which we'll see if it works because I've got a lot of compiler errors. Maybe. Oh yeah, it's a private class, so it would only be used there. Canvas layout engine test. To do great linking test. I want to get this working because ideally I don't want to be doing too much in terms of writing unit tests on stream. I may write a few, or at least flesh out what I need to write, and then try and get those done this Friday and Saturday. What I want to do is fix some of the issues that we know we have, and then just basically get a sense of what there is left to do. If I do write some tests, it may be more UI tests, because they are a lot more interesting to Right. Um, does not override anything from the superclass. What is the superclass? Coppice model controller. Page at link on canvas. Aha, because we need the mode. So how is everyone's Monday going? What are you up to? Have you got any plans for the day or for the week? This week is mostly going to be me working on contract work, so it's one of my shorter weeks. So on Friday I'm probably going to be going out doing some shopping and so on, and yeah, just getting stuff done on Coppice, around the house, relaxing. I've really started getting back into doing miniature painting with my space dwarfs. I've got my first unit of them built and primed, and I've got bases made. And probably tonight after the stream, I'm probably going to sort out a bunch of bases and other stuff, because I like to get the bases done so that I can then get the models stuck down. So that should hopefully be a lot of fun. Yeah, that could be fun to do, because I've got the space doors to do and I've got some fruit to do, and I'm hoping to get through them reasonably quickly, but it's just been working out the color schemes, what exact paints I'm using and so on, because there's going to be quite a few more colors on than I would normally have, because there's going to be black and white but also blue and orange, and I've sort of paired them up where you're going to have like black, like blue, and then a cool black, and then orange and a warm white, and then there's a grey that basically I'm trying to avoid any metals on this and just do matte colours, so that should be fun. Let's see, busy work, lots of work to do for main client. Yeah, client work, it's one of those things where it's kind of annoying that client work pays so well. Because sometimes you just want to work on your own stuff, but it's like client work pays more. And is a lot more consistent and easier to deal with than working on your own projects and trying to make the indie life work. But I mean, thankfully the project I'm on now, it's a fairly stable thing, and it's a good project to work on. There are not many projects like it, so it's quite a fun client project, and I get to work with some really good people, so that's the main thing. I get to work with people who appreciate me being there, and who are pretty smart and talented and do great stuff themselves, so it's just a good team to be on. So Alright, so we've got the open page mark there. Do we have any more things to do? Nope. Alright, let's work through these bit by bit. Coming along okay so far. Had your morning walk, but still got some chores to do, and also this week's meals prep. Writing yourself for freelancing at the moment. Ooh. Interesting. Hopefully the writing goes well, Kieran. And hopefully the meal prep goes well as well. Yes, the daily problem of I want to work on my own stuff. I mean, this is why I'm very lucky that with the contract, I'm currently alternating between like 3 and 4 day weeks working on contracting. So Mondays I have to work on my own stuff, but then I also have a bit more time to get stuff done during the week with the Fridays that I have off every other week, so that I can spend time on the weekends also working on my own stuff. Alright, why is that? Canvas layer engine currently have a page. What did we change that to? It's page under mouse. Equals. Well. Yeah, page under mouse equals page. Okay, so that one should be done. What are we missing from here? Link. That content point returns a URL, so that should return URL. Should have done it yesterday, but there was a Kazak's Outer Wilds stream. Yeah, that was fun to watch. I've been binging on the Outer Wilds stuff. I realised between Dog Swift and Kazak, I've probably watched about 14 hours of Outer Wilds over the weekend. So it's Insta. It is going well. How are things with you? Yeah, I may have watched the entire Dog Swift Outer Wilds stream from start to finish. So yeah, it's like, oh, Dog Swift's on. Well, go start watching them. It's like, okay, when are they going to finish? When are they going to finish? And I just had it on in the background the entire day. Right. I like matching pages, so I need to add the mocks to this. Highlight links mock. So that's going to take a page link and return nothing. And then we can do if self dot links mock dot cold with arguments page link. And Let's unhighlight links mark. Fails. Void. This is just a self dot unhighlight links mark dot code. These need switching from pages to item. URL. Let's just spreadsheet. Com for now. Stayed up a bit too late watching that. Yeah, it went off right. I think they finished at around, what would it be in UK time? Around 9 PM, I think, because they started at 11. Or maybe it was closer to 10 PM. Because if they've gone for 10 hours and they streamed the game for about 10 hours and they did about half an hour chatting before, and I think they only came on at like 11:30, so. Yeah, I have a tiny bit of sadness about that, but the other thing that I think of is that I probably would have never wanted to play Outer Wilds if I hadn't been watching other people play it. So it's sort of a catch-22 of you need to watch enough to spoil it to know that it's something that you really want to play. Because I like those sorts of puzzle games. I mean, I've been recommending a few of them. Lots of parts of it were very much. It felt a lot like the Myst games in many ways, where you've got to sort of keep going to different places and work out all these puzzles and so on. But I've also been enjoying it just from a point of view of analysing game design. I think I said I can't remember which stream I said it in, but Outer Wilds feels like one of those games that is going to be taught on game design courses. Because it is just so well crafted, every sort of aspect of it. And yes, there's some bits that they've got wrong and they've had to change to hint people because certain things aren't obvious, but you always get those in these sorts of games. But yeah, it does feel like one of those games that you really want to... You really want people to study to make more of. Right, why are we... Oh God, there's going to be so many more methods on here, aren't there? Oh. One. Fine. Oh, and that's even just a rename. Okay, your complaints. Ah, there we go. Right. Let's figure out which of these are just renames. So What you know would frustrate you is the clash between the reset mechanic and exploration. For example, when Dog and Swift were trying to do that section with the fish and the red dot. I know if you had to keep your start from the beginning, you'd go. Yeah, that is. Some parts of that are like super frustrating. So I can. That's part of why it's okay watching others play it. I think part of the thing that I get is I will watch people playing it and then I will get something and it's like I then want to sort of, it's those moments I want to play where they don't get it and they keep doing stuff and it's like, how are you not, like, why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that sort of thing? So, I mean, it's one of those games that I could see myself playing. Like, I sort of know what to do, but still playing through it could be fun. Just to experience it at my own pace and get things in. Probably in like a few years, play through it. Once I sort of, like, I know what is going on, but I've forgotten all the steps to get there, so I can go through the journey again. Because I do that all the time. I replay Myst all the time, even though I've played it many times before. And it was only in the latest version that they added randomization to the puzzles. I've played that game. I know what to do. I know I can look online and you can complete Myst in like 5 minutes because it's all about knowing a certain combination to grab something and then you can win. I think you lose I won't say you lose much. You lose some degree of the surprise and the wonder and the realization by not playing it yourself, but you still get that. What you don't get is having to do all of the controls and stuff like that, like the actual mechanics and exploration and going where you want to go in the order you want to go. So that's the fun stuff that you can really do, and that's where the replayability can come in. Right. Let's see. So we have select item. Deselect item. Items in canvas, right? And then we need to rename that item at canvas point. Modified items. Finish modifying items. I'll tell it to remove item. Okay, and then what do we have? Stop editing, so good. a page under mouse. Guest page. Pages. And then need the linking stuff at the end. Do that. I have to do the mock those. Let's set up these mocks. So add links mock. Oh, I had a question answered today. The question that I had been wondering. So, a few weeks ago, I sent off my passport to be renewed. It was going to expire early next year. And I thought, oh, it's meant to take 10, 12 years. Not 10, 12 years, 10, 12 weeks, supposedly, go through. I best get it in now. Well, it turns out it doesn't take quite that long. It's probably taken maybe, might be about a month since I applied for renewal, so it wasn't too bad. But when I sent it off, I think I sent it off, I can't remember if it was just before or just after the Queen died. And the question was, because let me just grab the passport and I'll read you what it says in the front of my old one. Yeah, so the opening passage is about Her Britannic Majesty's Secretary of State requests and requires in the name of Her Majesty, and then blah 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 blah. And the question was, how quickly would they update those? Like, how many of these ones have they got printed? Because in theory, it's now His Britannic Majesty's Secretary of State requests and requires in the name of His Majesty. And the answer is, they evidently have quite a few to get through because mine still says Her Majesty. So, yeah, mine still basically references the Queen. Well, they don't update it that soon. And it makes sense, because if they've already got them printed, it's like 2 words. Why are you going to reprint it for all that? It's not like they're going to deny you because of that, because the important stuff is what is actually written inside of it. So I have to say, it was quite nice to be able to do the entire thing online, take a photo on my camera and send that, and just submit it all online, and all I had to do was send my old passport in, and that should be coming back at some point. So it was a lot less hassle than last time. But of course, last time it was because I'd accidentally lost it and never had to go through the full process from scratch. Which is always a lot of fun, where you've got to go through the system of finding someone who's known you for at least 2 years, who is of good standing in the community, to sign that, yes, this is a likeness of you. Thankfully, I managed to get a friend of my brother's who works for the. I don't know. It, I don't think they're a police officer. They work for the police, so that technically classified them, I think. I'm in one of those fuzzy states where I think I'm technically in that group that can sign those things if I've known someone long enough, because you need, if you're a director of a limited company. So the problem is, I'm not sure whether you need employees or not for it to count, but the problem is you're not allowed to use family members, and half the, or over half the people I know who do qualify for doing that sort of things are my family members. Right, and this one's all about page. Nothing. And then links changed. Still doesn't conform. I've got item at canvas point. Have I just forgotten to change the type? Yes, I have. And then just jumped then because there was a bump on the window, and it's the window cleaner that has just started cleaning. Not usually here this late in the day. It's usually morning that they come when they do, but just do let page with ID equal not detail. No. UID engine page. Return self dot page with ID mark cold with argument. Should be good now. Okay, can we run our tests? No, we cannot. There's still a lot of stuff broken. Mark page content does not conform. Why not? Guys, need the page link. Do like that. Test layout delegate. That needs to be like that. And then finish linking. Isn't this exciting? But I do these streams to show what software development is like, and sometimes software development is not the most exciting. Moved item. Ow. Ah. Run away from the bugs. Run. What? What do you think you're doing? Hmm. What do you think you're doing? Hey. Those bugs. Anyway, let's get back. Wait. Why the hell did that sound play? You are over there. I am over here. You're still over there. I'm here. And I go back. No, you're there. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe it's because I extended this room, but then I've extended it before and it's not done that. Oh well. Go back. Settle in. You going to make any more noise? I think door's a bit broken, chat. Whose face is what? Oh! Oh! Guess what's working, Sinister? Subscribers, this is Mr. B, who resubscribed. And the stickers work. So, yay! It works. I've also fixed it so the followers shouldn't be notified multiple times, but yeah. I have no idea how I fixed it, because it should in theory have been running the same code in the old version, but at least, well, I mean, it was working on the old version, so like, I don't know why it was fixed, but oh. I think I know what may have happened. It may be an authentication issue. Because I opened the overlay beforehand. I wonder if that's it. I wonder if it's authentication. I wonder if I need to fix that. It should be reconnecting everything correctly. Ah, Sinister, thank you for subscribing. And now Sinister's sticker appears on. Hi! Thank you so much. It's much appreciated. So yeah, that's I'm glad that is now working. Well, I wonder if you can get a better picture of the ports from this direction. Sort of. You can just about make out what they are. Let's see if I can get a better. There we are. Some of them are new, some of them are old. So you'll have to see if you can figure out what they are, but But yeah, I'm so pleased with how things have started turning out. I mean, I've still got a lot to do because the mouth I need to get working, but I may hold off on that until I'm on macOS 13, because then I can potentially use OBS to capture the desktop audio, so therefore I don't need to use Wavelink to do that, so therefore I can use Wavelink to funnel into the overlay. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Right, cannot find pages because that needs to be items. Alright. Canvas test pages. Missing parameter mode. Aha. Right, so mode dot new. All of these should be new because we haven't written any tests. There we go. Yeah, I have considered look back. I mean, I do have software to do this SWB audio app. The problem is it keeps breaking. Like sometimes it will send stuff through, sometimes it won't, and then it gets sort of annoying. So I've kind of given up on it. So now what I have is well, that's SWB audio app. I have Wavelink, which works pretty much flawlessly. The problem is, in order to get audio into my overlay, I haven't been able to get it directly from the microphone. I've had to do it through Wavelink. So if the music is coming through, that means that the music is being fed to the overlay and therefore controlling the mouth. If I could find a way to get just the microphone input to work in Unity, it will be good. But if not, I'll use this. But with macOS 13, OBS is meant to support audio capture. Like, I'll be able to set up a source that will capture music, another one to set up the overlay, and have those all in the audio mixer as separate sources, which will be great. I mean, I believe they added that on Windows in version 28, just on any version of Windows, but for macOS, it needs some stuff that's new in macOS 13. So I'll hopefully be able to get that sorted up. So rather than needing to go through an app, I can go straight into OBS for audio capture. But yeah, until then, I don't get it. But I mean, macOS 13 should be out later this month, and from what I understand, it's actually pretty stable in the betas. The only big issue is system preferences, which has been improving, but it's still a bit of a mess. But it's not as big a deal as iPad. Okay, see you later, Mr. B. Hope your meeting doesn't go too long. But yeah, the iPad seems to be iffy. Almost everyone I know who has used Stage Manager has said it's pretty bad. As in, Apple should probably remove it and rethink it bad. Your laptop's on the beta for a while and works well. Yeah, I've heard that from a few people that like macOS 13 is pretty good for a beta. And on macOS, apparently Stage Manager works reasonably well. But yeah, it's generally just system preferences that I've heard complaints about on macOS 13. But iPadOS Stage Manager is just... it's not buggy. The issue seems to be that... Okay, I'll finish this thought because I've literally just had a brainwave, and then I will. I'll finish this thought first, and then I'll give you the brainwave. So the issue seems to be that it isn't a case that it's buggy. There are many bugs in it. The issue is that it doesn't seem to be well thought out. I've had someone tell me that it's like one of the worst bits of user interface Apple has ever added. And it seems kind of, and that is not an opinion that is like, there are many people I've seen who have just been turning it off. And it's just, Apple seems to really, really suck at adding multitasking to the iPad. They keep trying again and again with new things, and it's just like, just do a windowing system like the Mac. Make it a bit different so it works better on touch, but it seems like Stage Manager is not that system, at least not in its current form. So we'll see how that goes. They've already pulled some stuff out and changed some stuff, so they've made it so it will run on older iPads, but they've also delayed the external monitor support. Though the external monitor support is the bit that seems to be actually like useful. So we'll see. It seems a bit late now for Apple to completely pull it, but it sounds like they should. There we go, build succeeded. Now let's see which tests fail. Okay, so a bunch with the layout engine. Makes sense that the canvas page test would break because it's now going through linking. Oh yeah. Anyway, the random idea I had. So I now have idle animations. The thing is, when I'm speaking, I'm not really doing anything, even if my mouth is working. And sometimes when I speak, I like just to make small head movements, as you do. And then you might just like, meant to be locked. Yeah, you might make small head movements and just look around a bit. And it just occurred to me, what if when I'm speaking, I could have like little head movements, just like move up a bit, I just look up, and just look to the side a bit, and just subtle head movements as I'm speaking. Powered by the microphone, so it detects, am I speaking? And it'll only do it like a little bit, but it's just like move just to a thing. So it's a bit like an idle animation, but it doesn't actually change stuff. Like the bar avatar. Sort of, yeah. But I'm not sure whether those are powered. I mean, it's... I need to add the bounce back in for one thing. I've taken the bounce out, but I need to get that in again. But yeah, I just feel like having, as I'm speaking, just the head move around a bit. So it's just subtle things like just looking up a bit and looking down a bit, and like not even looking down, just looking up a bit and looking like just up and down a bit and just side to side. just the eyes moving a bit. So I'll just like look and sort of, because you know you sort of you think you sort of your eyes just move around a bit as you do, because you're sort of looking and then you sort of have a conversation. You sort of look over to the side and then sort of look back, and I think that's something that we could do in the future. I don't want to focus on it yet because I think I've done enough on the bot at the moment. I want to do some more on just other stuff on the overlay. I want to get the mouth offset working, but I think we'll leave the bot once that's done and work on some more rooms potentially in the overlay and some more functionality. But yeah, getting something like that where the head just moves about as your head would when you're talking, and your eyes just move about a bit and so on. It just gives it that little bit more life, because now I have the capability to do all these things. It makes sense to use them. Right, so we need to start making a to-do list. So let's have a look at what I have added. So Coppice, model controller canvas page test. Let's have a look at you. I need that. Don't flip on iOS. Model PL's got the migration that needs handling, create linking tests. Don't know why I need to do that. And implement new model router test. So let's add a bunch of to-dos. So to do add test for opening existing page. Yeah, see you in a bit, Kieran. Right. Bunch of tests here, which I think are because we're incorrectly doing that. So links to connect canvases. Pay attention, page test. Fine. Player engine page. So this needs a test for link method. It should be fine. Remove item. Oh, actually. No, remove. Contact. Test. Do game. Add test for links. Canvas layout engine tests. The top. Create test for linking mode. Over X. Yeah, this is probably going to be a few days of work, so working on this on Friday and Saturday makes a lot more sense when I'm not streaming. Hey. That all seems to be good. So let me go over here and last dashboard. Right, so what do we need to do? Ensure all new features are fully accessible, add a new icon, update our help resources, migration, and then a few bugs. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to step away for about 5 minutes to just get myself a cup of tea. And when we get back, we'll probably look into some of these bugs and migration things and see if we can get those done. And then after that, depending on how long they take, maybe start looking into accessibility. So yeah, I will see you all in about 5 minutes. I'll run some ads during the break, so feel free to go and get yourself a drink, stretch, get some fresh air, and just generally ignore the ads. It's just so that we don't get people coming in later on and having to deal with them themselves. So see you in a little bit. I am back. And I have a fresh cup of tea. See. I'm getting to start on meal prep. Making 2 types of curries, chili and a chili casserole. Ooh, tasty. Also, you don't have to spend longer cooking throughout the week because the bulk of the work will have already been done. My version of meal prep is basically just working out what ready meals I buy to then throw in the oven. Because I could spend a while prepping a meal, or I could throw something in the oven, go and do something for half an hour, and then come back and eat. So my meal prep for this week includes, I say that, I have stuff. I'm going to have bacon butties one night, possibly tonight. I've got some like chicken and cheese, like a cheesy chicken thing, curry, pizza, oh, what else? But I'll figure it out. I've also been munching on some carrots and dip because watching me at Wild stream and India getting those has sort of got me wanting to get them myself. Right, so we have all this done. What we want to work on now is some bug fixes. And one of the big ones is page with no title don't appear in the link inspector as if they are linked to. We'll build and run and I'll show you what this bug actually is. So create the debug document. If I create a new page, test, and then I link to this page. If I then go here, you'll see that click to add link. But if I go here, we've got our thing there. So this is treating it as though there's no link there. So what we want to do is when it's an untitled page, we want to actually put untitled page in here. So it shouldn't be too hard to do. But it's something to do. For you at least, it also counts as calorie counting because you need to keep an eye on it. Yeah, I don't really bother with calorie counting that much. I just sort of change what I eat and then it's just like, okay, well, I'm eating fewer biscuits and I'm now eating carrots and dip, so that's probably going to be healthier. I'm going for walks and getting exercise, so that's going to help. So I mean, it seems like I'd get hungry in the evenings and then want to just munch on a bunch of biscuits or make like a sandwich, like just a small sandwich or something like that. And what I've started doing instead is just make myself a mug of hot chocolate because it satisfies the cravings for sweetness, but it also fills me up more. So that's the key thing. If I'm not eating stuff that is stopping me, like that is not really fixing the feeling hungry, so whereas the hot chocolate does seem to. So now I know hot chocolate in itself is not healthy, but it is something that helps. I mean, there's no point in switching to something healthy if you end up craving something else and then just going for something unhealthy, because then you've just eaten the unhealthy stuff anyway and added more calories from the healthy stuff. So that's why you have what is referred to as a balanced diet. Because as maligned as carbohydrates are, they are still very useful. It's the link inspector I want. It's not link control, so if we go to the view controller. View model text value. View text. Okay. Here we are. Page title or page dot thought it was static on page. There we are. Localized default title. Oh yeah, because that is meant to be that. Oh, that. Oh. Card page dot title dot. But yeah, like with the hot chocolate, I haven't really looked into what the calorie difference is, but the other thing is that calories are kind of an iffy thing to be counting, because not all calories are equal. Like you can have 500 calories of sugar and 500 calories of salad, and they're going to have different effects on you. So it's working out what exactly it is. And for me, it's not making drastic changes, it's making small ones. I used to have 2 cups of sugar in a cup of tea. Now I have half a cup. 2 spoons of sugar. Now I have half a spoon in a cup of tea. It seems like a small thing, but it's an easy enough thing to make, an easy enough thing to stick to. Yes, I caught that I said a cup. It's because I'm meaning a cup of tea, so. So yeah, I now just have half a spoonful of sugar just to take the edge off it. I used to have all sorts of different cereals, and now I just have some cereal bars. I used to eat all sorts of chocolate and stuff, and now I've reduced that. I'll still have it on occasion, but I don't have it anywhere near as much. One thing I got bad at is that I started switching to having a lot of biscuits after I'd eaten something, and also a lot of ice cream over the summer. Well, I've started cutting that out, and again, like I say, switching to the hot chocolate instead. So all these things, bit by bit, it's not completely eliminating certain things, it's just reducing them. Like I bought some scones when I went to Asda. That's fine. I buy stuff from the bakery on Saturday when I go to Lidl. Like, I still have stuff. It's just make small changes that you can stick with. Small changes you can stick with are far better, and this doesn't just go for eating, this goes for everything in life. Small changes that you stick with are far better for you than drastic changes that you give up after a little while. I could have said, right, it's a new year, I'm going to do what everyone does in the new year, I'm going to start going to the gym. I would have given up on going to the gym after a few weeks, a month, or whatever, because it's a big change and it's not something you can stick to. Going for a walk every day for 30 minutes while I listen to a podcast, that is something that I can do and I stick to reasonably well. I'm not doing it every single day because of stuff going on, but it's something that I've been able to do, and it's something that has made me healthier that I've been able to stick to. And it's just getting these little habits in. Making sure that I properly, even though I may not be doing the entire house, but properly cleaning my office every weekend. Like, clearing stuff off the desk and so on helps a lot. When I need to do my accounts for my company, previously I'd wait until the end of the year and then have to do it all at once, and then I'd delay for several months and so on. Whereas now I've got reminders, so I do it every month. When I pay myself my wage, I also get the bank statements and fill out all my stuff of, okay, these are the invoices that I've sent out, this is the money that's come in, this is the money that's gone out, and sort out all of that paperwork and so on. Because it just makes life easier. Yeah. Little changes can change the world over time. People will see like a flood washing away part of a hill, but what they don't see is like bit by bit the stream taking it away over hundreds, thousands of years. It's just bit by bit, it completely changes things. Yeah, reminders are key. I have reminders set in calendar for stuff. I set myself reminders. And the amount of times I will remember to do something at an inconvenient time, and I just go to my Apple Watch or go to my phone or something. This is my primary use for Siri, is setting a reminder to do something. Last night, I remembered, I need to send an invoice to someone. And I also needed to do something on the overlay before I built it. So I set myself reminders for this morning to do those things. And therefore I got them done. I create myself to-do lists so that I can actually start getting through stuff. Now, I don't always follow those to-do lists, but right, where are we? I want to build and see if my thing works. You got Google Calendar on your phone's home screen, so you see calendars whenever you're on your phone. That is something very useful to do. I don't use calendars that much when I have appointments and stuff, I do, but for the most part I set myself reminders for a lot of things, so to do that. There we are. That's one bug fixed. can't do calendars, but your memory is also very good for some reason. You don't tend to forget things. For me, it's odd. I have a very good memory. I also have a terrible memory. So I have a very good memory where if I need to sit down and do something, I can remember how to do it. Like, how do I do various bits of programming? I have in the back of my head all these things that I can get to very, very easily. It's what helped me so much in school with one second. It's what helped me so much in school with doing exams. I am really good at written exams. Why? Because the knowledge goes in and I can then recite it. Like, I could probably not as much right now. Well, actually, no. I was going to give Warhammer as an example, but I haven't played it in. I actually played the game in a few years, so, and there was a new edition, so I've forgotten most of that. But like D&D, I'll always have in the back of my mind how a particular thing works, and I will know to look for it. I can tell when something is wrong. I can recall the information really well. I can do all that absolutely fantastically. Tell me what it is I need to work on this week. I don't know. Like, how many times have I started the street, like the first stream of the week, to work on Coppice and been like, okay, let's find out what it is we need to do. It's only been a few days since I last worked on it, but I don't know what I'm working on because my memory's rubbish. If I hadn't have set the reminders last night to fix something on the overlay and send an invoice, I would not have done that. Because I constantly forget those things. So I have very good knowledge, memory, but I don't have very good, what would it be? Temporal memory? Maybe. It's like the memory to remember to do something at a future date. Like, I have a very bad memory for tasks. I have a very good memory for knowledge. It's why, like I say, I can memorize really well a rule book, but ask me why I just walked downstairs, I will literally have no idea why I just walked into a room or walked downstairs or upstairs. Which, speaking again of being healthy and stuff, that is actually a fantastic side effect of why did I walk downstairs? And then walk back upstairs. And when I get back upstairs, I'll remember why I went downstairs. So then I'll go downstairs again, but then I'll get distracted by something and do that instead and walk back upstairs and then realize that, oh, I haven't done the thing that I initially went downstairs for. So I'll go back downstairs again to grab the thing that I want, and maybe I'll get it, or maybe I'll be distracted by something else. But eventually I will actually do the thing that I was meant to do. But in the meantime, I've managed to get 3 or 4 journeys up and down some stairs out of it. And it's just like, on the one hand, it's annoying I forget. On the other hand, free exercise. So I did actually discover there has been some research into why that happens, why you forget stuff. And it's actually pretty fascinating and does make a bit of sense about why this seems to happen to almost everyone. And it's because in order for your memory to work, your brain has to break it up into chunks. And the chunks it breaks it up into are effectively a bit like scenes. And what it will do is it will decide, okay, I'm going to throw something up or prepare it for storing to go later. Because from what I understand, the way your memory works is you have your very, very short-term memory, which is like, I'm working on something now, and it's like the memory of what am I saying, what is the current type of conversation, stuff like that. Then you have a slight more mid-term memory where stuff gets moved into there, which is sort of your short-term memory, as it were, which sticks around for a bit longer. And then stuff sort of piles up in there, and then it sort of gets committed to long-term memory when you're not doing anything. It's like when you're sleeping and stuff like that. It's why dreams and stuff like that generally relate to what you've been thinking about, because it's your brain processing your short-term memory that you've stored up during the day to then commit it to long-term memory. It's why they say reading something and learning something before you go to bed can sometimes help it stick a bit better, because it's fresh in your mind to be committed to long-term memory. But the key thing is breaking it up is your brain sort of breaks things up into almost scenes, and it breaks them up so that it can like make these neat chunks that it can then either discard or commit to memory or whatever. And one way that it determines these scenes are basically going from one area to another. So crossing the threshold of a door, going up or down a floor, or something like entering or exiting a forest, or something like that. Transitioning from one environment to another sort of triggers this in your brain. At least this is what they have found and they think is happening. And that is why when you walk into another room or walk on another floor, you can just forget something, because it has triggered your brain to actually focus, okay, this is a new scene, and then it may throw away something if it was not actively going on in your head, which I thought was quite a cool, and like, if it's true, it's quite a cool explanation of why that happens. Well, as with most things with the human brain, we don't fully know how it works. It's one of those things. The human brain is like one of the most fascinating things, because I think it is often described as the most complex structure we know of in the universe. Because how does something this small, that is basically just a blob of carbon and proteins and sugars and water, how does it do all the things that it does? And the general answer is, we don't know. We have guesses. We think we know what things do, but our knowledge of it is still primitive compared to what we know of how other things work. I think the only part of the human body we know about as little of as the brain is probably the immune system, which is its own. How on earth has that actually come about? Because when you start looking into the immune system, it's like, this is complex. This is very complex. and yet somehow it works. And we're only just getting some good ideas of how exactly things happen. But we don't fully understand, like, why exactly does inflammation happen? Like, we have ideas and we understand various things, but we don't know exactly how it is controlled and stuff like that, because knowing how these things are controlled helps us then utilize it to do things such as deal with various illnesses. Because if we can better target the immune system, then the immune system is fantastic at killing stuff. The problem is that the immune system can often kill you in the process. So if we can get it better at targeting the things it's meant to and not you, then it can do wonders. Okay. Let's see. Your memory's a little different. Your fiance would ask you to make them pizza and be like, okay, go through, notice the dishes to be done, you do the dishes, but then need to go to the bathroom and notice that Percy's list box needs sifting, you'll do that and then go back to PC and get back to what you were doing originally and then get notified and like pizza and you're like, oh heck. Yeah. It's almost that quintessential thing that was it from Malcolm in the Middle, where there's a light that isn't working. So he goes to get a light bulb, and then he finds that the shelf wobbles a bit. So he goes to get a screwdriver to fix the shelf. And then he realizes the screwdriver's broken, so he goes to get in the car to go to the shop to buy a new screwdriver. And then his wife comes home and asks, why have you not, there's a light out, why haven't you fixed it? And he's there underneath his car with the engine pulled out of the car, going, I'm fixing it. And it's just that one thing leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next, and you never get back to the original task. Right. So, I think the next thing we'll work on I'm not sure if it's a stupid question, but how do we see? You're not talking about the technical properties of the eye. You mean like, how is the image of what we see existing? But the light goes into the eye and is received by receptors, then why are we seeing things at the point of the eye if the information is taken to the brain? So, the reason that you're seeing things at the point of the eye is that is where the light is captured. So the light is taken in, there's receptors that respond to different wavelengths of light, and they send the signal to the brain. Now that is very similar to how a camera works, or rather a digital camera. Because with a digital camera you have a bunch of pixels, which you could think of almost like the rods and cones in your eyes. A photon comes in, hits one of them, and depending on the intensity of the photon going in, that can determine like how bright something is. And then you have different, I think you have filters over them in a camera, but you have different colored rods and cones and so on in your eye, and they end up helping you to determine color, because color is an illusion. Color is just the wavelength of the light coming at you, and your brain turns that into a color. So what you think of as red is not necessarily what I think of as red or what someone else thinks of as red. They could all be the exact same red, but like you could say, okay, that's red, but what you are perceiving is what I perceive as green or something. It's like your brain is mapping the color to something. What is the image of what we see being projected to? I mean, this is a bit like, how are you hearing the voice in your head? Like, read the sentence that you just wrote in your head. You hear a voice, but you don't hear a voice. So it's one of those things of I don't think we fully understand it. We have ideas of how it sort of works, because what we see is not what is actually there. It is an interpretation of it built by our brain. So the answer is you're seeing it in your brain. Now you're seeing it from the perspective of your eyes, because that's where it's captured, but the image is actually reconstituted in your brain. And the thing is, it sort of blurs between. I mean, there's a great trick that you can do to, like, your brain is almost anticipating what is there, because the actual bit that you are actively seeing is actually a very narrow part of your vision. Most of your peripheral vision is not really being fully seen and processed. It is sort of, your brain is filling it in. It's a bit like how you use like AI like to do upscaling in games and stuff like that. Your brain's doing something kind of similar, where it's predicting the future to work things out. This is why misdirection is so crucial. That is so easy to trick people with, because your brain is anticipating something is going to happen. It's why in animation, anticipation is so important, because your brain is anticipating something to happen. And when it doesn't, it takes a split second for you to, oh, wait, that didn't happen. There's also a thing where it takes, like, because your brain is anticipating something to happen, it means that you can actually glitch it out. And you see this most frequently when you go and look at a clock. If you're looking at something and then you suddenly look at a clock, you'll notice that if it was in your peripheral vision and you looked at it, when you looked at it, it sticks on whatever number it was slightly longer than a second. And then it sort of goes faster and catches up. So that if I'm just looking at the screen and I've got the clock in my peripheral vision at the top of my screen, and if I just look at it, it always hangs on that first number a bit longer. Why? Because your brain is almost anticipating what it is going to see, and it's sort of holding it a bit faster. It's like almost generating the frame ahead, if that makes sense. So it's, what you see is not like the reality of the world. What you see is what your brain has constructed as the reality. It's why you get optical illusions and all stuff like that, because your brain is doing so much processing to actually deal with that. So sort of what the image is being projected to, nothing and everything. We do live in a simulation, yeah. But the simulation is the simulation that our brain creates of the world we perceive around us using the sensory input. I mean, for example, I am sat on a chair on a floor in a building on ground. All of that is primarily empty space. There's nothing there. I am primarily made of nothing. The chair is primarily made of empty space. The floor is primarily made of empty space. The ground is primarily made of empty space. It's that thing of, if you took the whole of humanity and took all of the empty space out of them, they would fit in the size of a sugar cube. Why do we not then just pass through if there's all this empty space? Quantum mechanics. Because the electrons repulse, and because there's this thing called Pauli exclusion principle, which means that I believe it's fermions, such as electrons, you can't have two with the exact same energy state, and because of that, they can't really pass through. So when you are touching something, you're never actually touching it. It is electrons repelling one another. So I mean, if you think about you pressing up, like I'm pressing down on the chair, and all the weight that's going into that, that is all electrons repelling one another. So but we feel it as touch. We feel things as solid, but nothing is solid. It's primarily empty space. So yeah, I mean, when you get into quantum mechanics, there's some bits that are really weird, because there are things where you observe stuff and then it can... Like, have you ever heard of the double slit experiment? Because this is one of the most famous yet easy to understand experiments. Okay. So, let me see if I can bring the iPad up, because we're going to have to do some drawing to explain the double slit experiment. Shift a few bits around. Open up this, and let's see if... There we go. So, the double slit experiment. Let's think about this in terms of water. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create two slits. So, water. Imagine all of this, and all of this is water, and you have a screen here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to make some waves here. And these waves are going to travel along, and then they're going to hit here, and then they're going to start radiating out like this. From here, they're going to start radiating out like this. Now, as you can see, you get points where they cross over and points where they don't. So if we get rid of all this, so you've got one wave that looks like that, and you're going to have another wave that's offset a bit that maybe looks like, let's start it there. And what you always do with waves is you add them together. And if you get a point where you get two peaks lining up, because at certain points you'll get something that maps up exactly. When you get two peaks lining up, that goes super high, and two troughs super low, so it starts looking like that. But if you get it where you get a trough where you get a peak and a peak where you get a trough, then it cancels out and becomes flat. So this is what is called an interference pattern. So two like waves double up, two completely out of sync waves cancel out. By the way, this is how like noise cancelling works. So what you expect to have happen is you get a pattern where you get a bright patch and a dark patch and a bright patch and a dark patch and a bright patch and a dark patch. And what it looks like on the actual thing is you get sort of, just imagine a gradient, and then it sort of lightens up, and then you get another one. And this is sort of imagining what happens, like if you put a line across, you'd get these bits where it just ends up being a cross where it keeps going lighter, darker, because this is the interference pattern. And it's not like, I mean, it's more like that, and then you'd get like grey, and then light grey, and so on. Now, if you do this with light, you shine light through a double slit thing onto a photon detector at the back, same thing will happen. Okay. But light comes in these discrete packets, photons. Well, what if we shoot a single photon through? Now, a wave, you've got all these atoms in the water of hydrogen, oxygen that are colliding to make that. If you're shining a bunch of light through, you've got all the light going through. If you shine a single photon through, what do you expect to see? Bearing in mind that this photon detector just detects a single photon. So what you might expect to see, shoot one photon through, and you get photon. Okay? Shoot another photon through, you get a photon. You shoot another photon through, you get a photon. And you slowly build up photons, and they all come, and eventually you start seeing that all these photons have built up. That bit wrong. All these photons have built up into the same sort of interference pattern as if you were shining lots of photons at once. Bear in mind, you're sending one photon through here. So you're still getting an interference pattern. That means the photon is interfering with itself. That means that the photon is going through both holes. Mind-blowing, isn't it? One single photon goes through. This isn't like water where a wave passes through the atoms and the molecules in the water, or the atoms and the molecules in the air. This is a single photon interfering with itself. That's weird. But that isn't the weirdest part. What if we say, okay, well, let's make sure that it's going through both slits. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a detector here, and we're going to have this detector watch if a photon goes through this slit. What happens then? You get two lines. You don't get an interference pattern, you get two lines. And those two lines are in a line with the two slits. If you take the observer away, the detector away, you go back to an interference pattern. You put the detector in, and it goes to this pattern. You are not changing the photon. You are not changing the photon detector. You are not changing anything else. You are having an observer here. And that changes the pattern that you see. And that is where the whole concept of observation affecting the output, the outcome, comes in. This is why all that quantum stuff in Outer Wilds of you observing stuff, it doesn't work quite like that, but it sort of does. You observing something changes something. So quantum mechanics is fun. And the key thing is the photon theoretically takes every path. Like you can take that path, you can take this path, but you can take a path where it actually goes back on itself and goes shooting off all the way around the entire universe before coming back and landing here. There are some that will go all the way around and completely miss and go there. And what you basically need to do is work out, okay, what is the sum of all these paths? And that allows you to predict things. This is why you cannot exactly say where something is, exactly say how fast something is, because there is some fuzziness, because it theoretically could be anywhere. This is why you get something called quantum tunneling, where you can have a particle there, you can have a barrier there, and normally it cannot get through the barrier. This is like a solid barrier and it cannot get through. But with quantum tunneling, it can suddenly appear on the other side. Because when things get that small, things start getting fuzzy. They get quantumly weird, where it's sort of like a fuzziness to where things are. There is actually a minimum. Yeah, teleporting is real. This has been proven in experiments. You can teleport. The problem is it needs to be incredibly small and dealing with quantum mechanics. Teleporting something on the macroscopic scale, very hard to do. But when you get to all these small levels, things sort of become fuzzy. And there are actually minimum resolutions. Like there is a minimum resolution to the universe. There is effectively like a pixel for the universe. Now it's incredibly small, like fractions of the size of even like elementary particles. But it exists. And it's generally called like the Planck length. You have various other lengths. There's the Planck time, which is the shortest time you can have. Various things like that. But when you get these really small things, it's like we do not know how things get smaller. Our current understanding breaks there. But things start getting fuzzy below them. There's lots of weird stuff around quantum mechanics, and this stuff affects us in real life. Like this quantum tunneling has to be accounted for in processors, like computer processors. Things are getting that small now that you are having to use quantum effects to work this out. This isn't quantum computing. This is computing at such a small level that quantum mechanics becomes something vital. Like some of the things that they have to do with processors to work out this stuff and work around it and even just produce them is ridiculous. They are constructing stuff with light that is smaller than the wavelength of light that they are using. And they're having to use all sorts of quantum mechanics tricks to get that sort of stuff working and make sure things go where they're meant to go and that they work. And the thing is, it ultimately becomes a statistical model rather than something that you can really properly truly test. Like processors are built to have bits not work and to sort of route around those things, because you simply cannot manufacture things at the scale that we do, where you are measuring thicknesses in atoms. It's weird, it's wonderful, and the thing that always gets me is there's a saying that anyone who says that they understand quantum mechanics does not understand quantum mechanics. Like your knowledge of quantum mechanics starts, like your knowledge of quantum mechanics and your understanding of quantum mechanics starts like at 0. And then your knowledge of quantum mechanics and your understanding of quantum mechanics both go up, and your understanding like sort of really peaks when you know a bit about quantum mechanics. But then you start knowing more about quantum mechanics and your understanding dips again, because it makes no sense. And even some of the smartest people who have won Nobel Prizes for quantum mechanics, they are pretty much the same. They do not truly understand quantum mechanics. It's just, this is what experiments and maths tells us the world is like. It tells us there are a bunch of waves making a bunch of particles, and it all just comes together. And then when you start getting to relativity, like all the stuff Einstein did, that is even more mind-boggling. Like the idea that time is not a constant. It flows at different rates for different people. Like time is technically flowing, what would it be? It'd be flowing slower for Kieran than for me, because Kieran is further north, and therefore the speed that he is rotating as the Earth rotates is slower. So technically time is moving faster for me than for Kieran. And this is stuff that you can actually measure. They've done this experiment where they have 2 atomic clocks that they pair up, and they take one up to the top of a mountain and keep one at the bottom, and then they find that over time they drift out of alignment because of differences in gravity and because of speed and all stuff like that. Like, it's something that you wouldn't notice yourself, but it's something that is noticeable enough if you're using atomic clocks, which is why GPS has to account for it. So GPS satellite, because GPS works on having incredibly precise clocks at known positions, so you can triangulate yourself. With GPS, they have to account for the fact that they're going so fast that time slows down. So the clocks have to run slow. However, they're also away from a gravity field. They're in much lower gravity than down on Earth. And if you're in lower gravity, time speeds up. So they've got to then speed up the clocks. So you've got to factor those together, where I think the speed difference is more than the gravity difference. So they technically run a bit slower, but not as slow as just the speed time dilation, because you've got to factor in the gravity time dilation. But when you're having clocks as precise as on navigation satellites, you have to factor those things in. And the thing is, it works. We know from these satellites, we've been able to analyze them. Yes, what Einstein's equations say for both like speed and acceleration and for gravity, they work. They're correct. This is how the universe works. So the faster you go, the slower time goes, which brings you to the interesting thing of does light, because light travels at the speed of light, does light have infinite time? Does it just exist for infinity? because it is traveling entirely in space, not in time. All of its direct, like we're all traveling at the speed of light through space-time. It's just most of our movement is through the time direction and the space direction, but light entirely through the space direction. The physics is such a fascinating subject. I love learning about it, how all these different things function and how the world actually works. Right. We've got a legacy page hierarchy. And we've got a page hierarchy. So what I want to do, close that. I want to load the sample document. Because when I open that, we haven't got our hierarchies opening up. When you were younger, you used to watch the space documentaries all the time. Brian Cox kind of became a household name. Yeah. I've actually got some books by Brian Cox. There's one, Why Does E equal MC squared? Which is absolutely fantastic because it basically derives E equals MC squared through basic trigonometry. Like the whole of special relativity you can actually derive from trigonometry. All you need to do is just, okay, if we take these things to be true, what does that entail? And it entails that as you travel faster, the size of things changes, the speed of time changes, and so on. And also that energy equals mass. All just through trigonometry and then following where the maths takes you. So yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, the best one I've learned about recently is learning about the fine structure constant, which is a number roughly 1 over 137. And it appears in all these different locations in our equations. It does not have a unit. It is just a number. It's a bit like pi. It's just a number. And the thing about this number is that if it is, I believe it's 4% different, and this is a very precise number, but if it's 4% different, the universe doesn't exist because you don't get electromagnetism, which means you don't get atoms, you don't get chemistry, you don't get life. And it's like, why is this number what it is and why is it so precise? And the theory is, potentially, well, if you have lots of multiple universes, then this number is almost like the seed number for a universe. And if you have lots of universes and they each have different seeds, it just so happens that the seed to our universe is one that allows life to, like chemistry to develop and life to develop. So there could be an infinite number of other universes out there that nothing happens in because you cannot have chemistry, or they have wildly different chemistries. As I say, physics is weird. Like the real world is far weirder than you expect. And as I say, going back to what this all brought to, we're living in a simulation. Our brain is making sense of the quantum world and simulating what it is to allow us to survive. And ironically, considering this all came from Vision, all of our understanding of this came from colour. Where does colour come from? Why are certain things different colours? And yeah, that is how we figured out that the universe sort of doesn't exist in the way that we think it does. Because we asked the very simple question, why do colour happen? Why do colour happen? Because light acts funny. And so does everything else. Right. How do we want to migrate this? So we got a legacy page hierarchy. Now we set up the model P list, so that there. Migrate to the next version. We're creating the links. If I was to, for example, quit. Wrong one. I was to launch Coppice 2.1.1. Create a new document. And test page. New test page. Link to that and then and that. How about that? Okay, and then I save that to the desktop as test document. And then I quit, and then I build and run this. It should open that document, and it should. Okay, it doesn't. Can I run it again? Okay, so it's still there. We need to work out why the canvas links aren't showing up. Okay, I'm just going to quickly nip to the loo. I've drunk a lot of tea today. And when I get back, we'll try and figure out why this doesn't work. Because this is the first bit we need to do for this migration, is make sure that any links that exist open up. And then the page hierarchies are things that they're basically closed parts of it. So we want to make sure that those can be recreated. So we will get that all sorted in a sec. I should only be a minute or so. So see you all in a few minutes. I probably will run some more ads. So feel free to go and have a bathroom break yourself, get a drink or whatever. See you in a little bit. Okay, I am back. So, what we want to work out is why... Ow, 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 ow. Oh, dear. Hmm. What have I done? Yeah. I'm not going to say this was a mistake. But... No, don't knock it towards me, Kieran. Prepare for what? Exactly? I'm just going to stay over here and yeah. Yeah. I'll just stay here and hope. So, let us have a look here. So, should be migrating to the next version when we launch, which we are. So, we're going to go through and get all our stuff. Then we're going to get our existing canvas pages by ID. So destination ID, canvas page ID. So we get those. Get the source ID. Source page string, source ID string, destination page string, destination. So we get all the bits that we need. Then we're going to create a canvas link. I know what has gone wrong. Canvas page. That canvas page, not that canvas string equals canvas page dot page as string. Let canvas we should be able to do that is the canvas, and then it should work. No. Canvas link. Oh, because we're getting the page, it wants to be a canvas. There we go. They're appearing. Fantastic. So what are we on? Coppice 427. Fix migrating page. Visible page links. So the next thing we want to do is page hierarchies. So for that, I'm going to open this version. So page hierarchies, if I close that, and what I'm going, and I close that, and then I open that and I open that, you'll see that they appear in the same place, and it also depends on what I close. So if I was to, for example, let's add thing here, and we're going to link that to, that's a bug. Let me just file that. Bug. Command L does not jump to link inspector in hotspot mode on canvas. Page editor, canvas. Go to image page, create hotspot, select hotspot, hit command F. Should jump to the link vector. Version 20.2. Okay, so I want to go here and new page. We'll go here and we'll open this. So if I do close, close, and close, you'll see that if I click this one, opens it down here, but it only opens this one because I closed this one separately. Whereas this, because I closed the parent while this was open, it opens the whole thing. So what I want to do is when I close that, and close that, and I'm going to save that. When I open this, you'll see that it doesn't actually do anything, because we have not migrated that over. So our new hierarchy, I need to remember how on earth these work, because it has been a while since we implemented them. So you have the root page ID of the hierarchy. You have entry points. And you have the pages and the links that you're going to open. So a page ref canvas page ID, a page ID, and a relative content frame. Link ref is source, destination, and the link. Okay. Ah. So the entry point is a page link and a relative position. You can have multiple entry points in. So the entry point is so the link makes sense, the page makes sense, because you got an ID for the canvas page, you got the page that the canvas page contains, and then you got the relative content frame. So that's the frame relative to the root page. So the entry point, I presume, gives you the relative position of the overall thing. What's going to be easier is if I have a look in canvas. No, it's not in canvas. It is. Where would we actually? Let's see where we actually use page hierarchy. Hierarchy builder. You have a root page, canvas page. Okay, origin. So entry points are the points linking into that root page. And the relative position is the origin minus the source page. Okay. Then you add the canvas page. The hierarchy origin. So the pages are set relative to the root page. And then the page position is set relative to the parent page. Okay. So our legacy page hierarchy. So we have a frame, which isn't a relative frame, it's an absolute frame. Because if I was to go into here, does that sometimes? Oh. Open up. Version 2. Okay. That opens up, that opens up, that opens up. If I close that, and close that, and then I move this down here, can you see how they appear in a different frame? Because that's something that we actually... Ooh. Crash. What crash there? KBO. Yeah, I'm not sure whether that is worth looking into because most of that code has changed. So probably not worth it. Let's open up Coppice, open up this. Close that. Okay. So we'll save that, and what we'll do is also save a duplicate. There's document template. So if necessary, we can regenerate this to do the migration again. So I think what we want to do is we first want to move this stuff out just to tidy things up. So private func migrate canvas pages to lengths. That is going to return canvas pages. Going to be a string of any canvas links is going to be a string of any, I think. Oh no, it's an array of dictionaries of model P list key any. And here we're going to return our migrated canvas pages and our created canvas links. So what we can do here is get rid of all that. Let migrated canvas pages created canvas links equals try self.migrate canvas pages to links and do that. And then what we want to do is private func migrate page hierarchies in canvases. We don't want to migrate those yet. So we actually want to do that. Migrate page hierarchy is going to return a model plist key any, which is going to be return self.plist representations for canvas model type, and then we can take this and this is going to create canvases self.migrate page hierarchies. We could probably, create canvas. I'm not sure whether we're going to need the canvas page and canvas links. I don't think so. The canvas page we may do, but possibly not. So what we need to work out here is what is being migrated. So what is the ID? The ID is the canvas page ID. So in our legacy, we have ID, which is canvas page ID. We have page ID, which is page ID. We have frame, which is the absolute frame. And then you have the children, which are an array of legacy. The new have the root page ID of hierarchy. We have the entry point, so arrows into hierarchy plus position from source. We have pages, canvas page ID plus page ID plus relative position to position in hierarchy. And then you have links, which is source, destination, link. So the root page ID is easy because this is the canvas ID of top ID in hierarchy. The entry points are it's just going to be a single thing, and that is going to be entry point page link. It is. So this, oh, that's a fair point. Is the, if I go to the builder, is the entry point including the source? Root page, links in. Yes, it is going to include the source. So this wants to be link of parent.id, a link with source parent.id, destination root page.id, and the frame. Oh god, we're gonna have to extract the frame from the canvas page. Okay. So root page.frame minus parent.frame, I think. Then for our pages, I'll add root page at position 0. Go through children. Add link from pages and links. Add link from parent to child. Add child. Down. Okay, I think that's all planned out. He's implementing. I cannot be bothered implementing it right now, so probably do that on Friday as well. Or I may save it for Sunday. I want to focus on the unit tests. So, either way, we'll get it done another day. Possibly off stream, possibly on stream. Depends how I'm feeling and how much I get done on the tests. But I want to play around a bit with the overlay for the last hour while I wind down from the day. So, I have been doing quite a lot of work today. Doing some before the stream, getting various things set up and ready. So, let us switch over to Unity. Right, so what do we want to work on the overlay? The mouth, because this in particular looks off. The mouth should be further up and the eye should probably be further down as well. So let's work on that. That shouldn't be too difficult to do, because what I want to do is select the mouth and our default position. We set it 0.07. That's a nice number base. Hello, Bread Monster. How are you doing today? Yes, glad you like the new faces. I have got quite a lot of new stuff in. Ow. So yeah, this is the Pokebot 2.0 and we're just about to start some more work on stuff. I'm doing pretty good, thank you. Feeling a lot better than yesterday when I was just feeling very low energy. Right, what do I need to find? I need to find... Oh, let's open up the project. Right, that way, there we go. The mouth. Yeah, I was feeling a bit low energy yesterday, which is why I cancelled the stream, but feeling a lot better today. Right, update mouth. Do a private void. Update mouth position. Right, we're going to go up here, and when we apply, we're going to do this update mouth position, because we only really need to update the mouth position when we are changing the expression, but the theme, we also want to do it there just in case. Alright, so private vector 3 base mouth position equals new vector 3. It's going to be 0, 0.04, 0.07. And then what we're going to do is var position. Most of the wheat's meal prep done, just to now weigh out the different meats, but you're going to do that later. Other chores to do first. Yeah, it's always good to get through. Feel like you're getting accomplishments, so get as many chores done as you can. The problem with chores is they keep piling up, so you think, oh, I've got through those chores, so I'll be able to get through these chores next, but then you realise the chores that you've got done are the ones that you've got to do every week, and then you never get the other chores done. It's a bit easier when you're not living by yourself because then you get help doing it and you can split it up. When you are living by yourself, you got to do it all by yourself. Where are we? Mouth position dot z plus equals this dot current. Actually, we don't care about the theme, so the theme does not affect it. Current expression dot mouth offset. Okay, and if I go to crying, what we want for a lens offset is we want to move this down point. Let's move it down 0.01. And then the mouth offset is going to be minus 0.01. So if I launch, go bang. Well, that's starting to look better. That needs to move up quite a bit more. So let's do 0.25. See what that looks like. We'll build and run. Has it moved at all? Health. No, it hasn't moved at all. Oh! I'm changing the vector. I'm not actually playing it. Apply the texture. Let's start transform. Local position equals mouth position. Alright. There we go. That looks less ridiculous. I think this one needs to come up a bit as well. In fact, let's open Photoshop and have a look at these. Bot faces. If we compare to plane, that's probably about where we want it. Plane and happy probably want to shift down a bit. So if we go to plane, we're going to make this 0.01, and for happy, same again. Although actually happy probably is fine being where it is because it's a lot taller. Worried. Probably wants to be where it is. Confused definitely wants to move up. Angry wants to move up. Surprise wants to move up a bit. So I move every up by minus 0.01. And we'll do puzzled by minus 0.15. We save all those and we go back to Unity. There we go. That looks okay. Now, something I do want to test is, let's test some themes. Hello, Uli. How are you doing? Now, you'll notice that, for example, I have not updated the mouth for pixelating all of them, nor the tears. The mouth is pixelated here, but not on the others. I've just focused on the eyes because I wanted to get the mouth in for all expressions. Why am I sad? I'm not. I'm puzzled that you are sad. You sort of kind of overwrote your Windows gaming PC with Linux by accident. Did you have backups? That That seems worrying. So yeah, we are just working through some bits. Now there are some problems. So for example, if I go here and where are we? Go here. There are some problems with the eyes. I'm not going to fix them now. But you notice I have like the specular highlight, which looks pretty good here. It looks okay there. But if I switch to something where the pupils are light, it sort of looks like I'm looking up. It's like the eyes, like the pupils now become the eyes and the specular highlight becomes the pupil. So it looks like I'm looking up to the left, and same on the B side. Now it only affects surprised and to a degree crying. Now I do have an idea of how to fix that, where effectively I will have a version where rather than the specular highlight just being the whole, it will be like just a stroke. So it will be a dark stroke and then it will be light in the specular highlight as well. But yeah, it's working out what I'm going to do there, because yeah, it doesn't look as good in those themes, so I'm gonna have to work on that. But yeah, so what else do I want to get done? Oh yeah, I'm not bouncing. Let's get the bouncing. It basically holds your boot position, so your data should still be there. What isn't in gear to the Steam cloud at least. Well, hopefully you can get it all back. Right. Let's oh, that's a fair point. I need to get an accessory in, don't I? Worried. I need the sweat drop. Canvas size. Let's do 120 by 160. Because that's plenty there. So if I do canvas size and multiply the height by 3, and then I want a layout guide that will do. Shift that up to the center there, so we've got our plane. Let's invert that and make the background back. On the plus side, you now tried out Steam on Linux and Pro, some games work quite nicely. Ooh. I mean, it should be getting pretty good for gaming on Linux, given Valve, like the Steam Deck, is running Linux. Out below. Going, and then for pixelated, I need to open this, copy the pixel grid, paste it in. And then that, and new layer. Star Trek Online, for example, just stopped loading in the middle of a mission on it, so not quite as reliable, but come along way. Yeah, it's, I mean, it can't be worse than the Mac in terms of gaming. Oh, I need to get rid of that. I can get rid of that. Well, that will have to do because I can't really smaller because I've set myself a fixed pixel size. Okay, I need to canvas size. The height is going to be 483, just to add an additional pixel. Guide from layout, background. So how are things besides gaming PC getting hosed, really? Right, so I want to go to the background and export this as, oh, for crying out loud, why did it do that? Material, no, resources, base, accessories, worry. And I will also save that on my computer in accessories, worried. And then what I should be able to do is the following. If I go into here, I want it to be the right accessory. So if I, where's Krang? If I select that and go to worried, paste that in, worried, I'll work out this. Wait, no, it should be 120 by 161. I'll do new vector 2 minus 1f minus 1f. That may be too far because I can't remember whether it is local or not on here, but was okay. I had day after reunification day after fighting Swift Package Manager. Fighting Swift Package Manager at work last week. Were you doing the same job I was? Because I was fighting Swift Package Manager at work last week, and then had to fight other stuff at work last week. So I was introduced to the wonders of developing system extensions. You want to know what is the most fun about system extensions? You have to install them, you have to uninstall them. But if you uninstall them, it doesn't uninstall them. It marks them as to be uninstalled and doesn't uninstall them until you reboot the machine. Now, if you want to actually test them, like change some code and make sure it works correctly, you have to build, you then have to uninstall, you then have to reboot your machine. I mean, you don't have to build before this, but you've got to uninstall, reboot your machine, then you can build the new version and then install it and then test it. And if it doesn't work, you need to make more changes, then you've got to uninstall it, reboot your machine, make the changes to the code, recompile it. And so you've got to basically add a uninstall, reboot step every time you want to recompile the project and run it, because there's no way to update it otherwise, because you've got to uninstall it to reinstall the new version, and you've got to reboot to clear it out to properly uninstall it, which is fun. And it gets even better because you can't attach a debugger to the extension, and I wasn't able to get log output. Apparently there is a way to get log output via OS log, but I wasn't able to get that working. So I was basically trying to debug how something works without access to a debugger or logging. How are you meant to do that when I'm meant to hit the mic? So yeah, you've got to, yeah, it's, you can't use debugging, and in order to build a new version you've got to reboot your machine. So on the plus side, it did manage to get me to finally work out why my Mac Studio was so slow in launching, because my Mac Studio would launch and then get stuck on the last bit for ages, and sometimes it wouldn't, but often it would. And then once it launched up, WebKit would hang. Anything that used a web view would not properly load. So like Mail would not load its thing, Safari would not load a web page, Dropbox would freeze up, and they would freeze for several minutes. I was trying to work out what it was, and they eventually figured out it was my external drive enclosure. And what it seems to be is I had some OS versions on there. I had an old beta OS that may have been, it was that old, it may have been Big Sur. But I also had a bootable backup, an old bootable backup. So one of those, it seems, was causing issues. So I basically reformatted those two discs. They're empty now, which I was meant to do it anyway because they were meant to be for storage. But yeah, now it's just Time Machine and a clone that doesn't have the OS on. It's just a clone of the data partition. Seems to boot just fine. But yeah, when it had the OS on, I think it might have been like Spotlight indexing or something was messing up, and it was really confusing it because it had multiple OS versions, and it may have just been trying to read those for some reason, but who knows. Right, so we have that set up. So once these have reloaded, we need to then go and resources, face, accessories, turn this into a sprite. Multiple 4,000 apply. Going to the sprite editor. By cell count, want 3 rows, slice that, and apply. Alright, let's see if this appears correctly. It does not. Okay. What I'm going to do is change the offset to 0 just so that we can see that it is actually loading. I save that, come back here. Okay, so it's definitely loading. Let's see what this does. Or actually, can I? Nursery. If I go to scene. Okay, so 0.07, 0.3. Those in. I need to work out how to color accessories because like the tiers are multicolored. I don't know how I'm going to do that. It may need to be multiple layers. That are then composited together. Alright, let's see. Okay, that's a bit too far. 0.025. 0.0. Let's see if this works. That's looking a bit better. Right. For the theme. Let's do public color accessories. And colors dot accessories equals new color. Oh no, actually we don't need to do new. Just do color dot black. Oh no, it needs to be white for the B-side theme. And then okay, so now we just need to color the accessories. How do we actually update the accessory? Do it in there. Let's start left accessory. Dot component right renderer. Dot color equals this that theme. Fashion. Oh, update colours down there. Rid of that. Start left accessory dot get component right renderer. Color equals colors dot accessory. And same for the right accessory. Alright, let's see if this has broken our crying accessory. So if I go to worried, I did update those. Did save the changes. I did not. Take 2. Okay, let's change some themes. Good, good, good. isn't taken into account, but we can fix that over time when we fix things. But what is important, yeah. So it just needs to be white. Change colour there. Okay, that's easy enough to do. Close that accessories. Let's try now. The themes are already channel point redeems, really. Uh, 500 points for change theme. And then you can, there's a set of options that you can choose from. You just type one of those options in and it should change the theme. There you go. Work both in Unity and in the overlay. Okay, so that works and that works. That will do for now on that. Where is stream overlay? Get all basic expressions and okay, so I think what I want to start doing next is some more modeling on the ship. It would be nice to do some more with this room. Because we've got a screen, but it's sort of a conference room. But it's just a blank, empty space. So what I'm sort of thinking is you have the screen here. But what if... So there are two ways I could go with it. Have it be almost like a lecture theatre where you have sort of chairs and desks going back and sort of a lectern at the front, and then those can all sort of just collapse away. Or I could go for like a conference table in the, because whatever it is, I want it so that when I walk into the room, it will basically just be there, but when I actually go to the screen, they'll all just sort of collapse away. But maybe like a conference table in the middle with chairs all around it. And we can have stuff on the wall, and then up here I want almost like an observation thing so that you can sort of see. Because at the moment, if I go like this, you can see above, and it would be quite cool to make it almost like a glass ceiling, at least at the front. So that would be quite cool to play around with. But yeah, I think some sort of conference table. So let's do some Googling. Conference table. Let's have a look through some tables. I'm not sure I want something wood texture. That's an interesting. Yep. Where's PureRef gone? Let's take a screenshot. Paste that in. Bit too fancy, bit too plain. Interesting-ish shape, but no. Nope. Ooh. That's a nice aesthetic. Sort of steel stuff down there. Stick that into PureRef. I mean, there's a round table, but I don't think so. Ooh, shape of that and the pattern, like the stuff in the middle, is interesting enough. Nope. Ooh, could go for like a glossy white, maybe. Not a fan of the table, but the chairs are quite nice. This was you when looking for stuff for your birdhouse. Yeah, it's you just basically go through and look for various. Ooh, those are interesting shapes. That is going in. Those chairs look very sci-fi. Especially the backs of them, where it's sort of like it goes up and then it curves down to the back. Those look cool. Is that just a better photo of them? You're not really getting any much more on there. Yeah, there's... These resin ones are quite cool, but again, not what I'm going for. One of those rotate up power bars in the middle. Yeah, that could be something to stick in there. I mean, it's something that the conference table won't be used. The main thing with the conference table is there are going to be a bunch of... We're going to be a table and a bunch of chairs. And basically, when I go in, it's going to be there. But I ever want to make it so that where the camera's positioned, you don't see it, or more likely, it will sort of collapse into the floor. It will sort of like, the floor will open and it will slide in and the floor will close over it to give me more space. Because why does a robot alone on the spaceship need a conference table? This is why I'm also thinking potentially like a lecture theatre sort of thing, because I'm here talking to you all. So it's like, you can all be sort of there in the lecture theatre. And it's all stuff that we can think about. Ooh. This one, Kieran, or is there or this one? Yeah, this is more your aesthetic. Quite an interesting one. I'm trying not just to Google Enterprise conference room and Voyager conference room. That's quite cool. Yeah, we're just getting a lot of repeats now, and they're all... Why? Well, I suppose it may just be in storage if it's just been... if it's used furniture, but... Yeah, I've cut that rounded one in. I mean, some of these are very nice. They're just not the aesthetic I'm looking for. That has some interesting stuff on. I think I've got enough ideas here to start doing some modeling. But I think what we may do is we may end the stream, because I'll probably have a little bit of a sketch off stream, and then we can come back and do some work on this on Wednesday evening. So let's see if there's anyone online. Trash Puppy is online and doing some horror game dev. So let's go see some game dev stuff. Let's just set up. Right, so I want to thank you all for coming along. I hope you have... Move. I hope you have all had a great time. Let's get this raid. That's all. So, yes, we've got a lot done today. We've managed to get some bugs fixed on Coppice and get the unit test working and get everything planned out for our for the migration code. And we've looked at tables, got some stuff done on the overlay, and basically got the first step of redeveloping the Pilkebot done. The next steps will be probably later this month, after I get some more done on the ship, because I want to get this room done and maybe get another room opened up, but we'll see. But yes, I want to thank you all for coming along. Thank you to Misha B and to Sinister for subscribing. It is always appreciated. And until we meet again on Wednesday, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, a wonderful rest of your week, and as always, happy coding.